Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, do you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Breakfast Bankroll for Thursday, October 19, 2023. Shout out to my daughter, Kylie. Happy 20th birthday. Man, I remember. I won't even get back there. We're not going to show my age. And, of course, a little shout out to the world. Our guest, our weekly guest, Mr. Julian Edlow from DraftKings, his 21st birthday today. So we want to give him a happy shout out and giving us the time of day back here in the morning. Like to announce, obviously, as everyone knows, it's been here the last week or 10 days, our partnership and sponsors, WagerWire. If you haven't downloaded the app, please go to Google Play and wherever you download your apps, download WagerWire. It's free. Sync up all your bets. Take a look at all the promos that you can get, potentially some free wagering, some free investing, and free bets. Keep track of your ROI. Shout out to Joe Shea, Evan Lewis, Olu Bennett, and Cade Horton, the guys behind the deck. So without further ado, let's bring him in. The birthday boy himself, Mr. Julian Edlow.
Just another day.
Morning, sir.
Just another day at this point, Jeff. Might have some lobster tonight. I heard we're doing lobster, so I got that going for me.
After the summer of paradise that you had, I mean, you could have been the traveling gourmet between the lobster, the steamers, and I mean, the pictures on Twitter were priceless.
Yeah, I've kind of taken that up as my my secondary level content below all the sports stuff. If you like seafood in New England and you like good craft beer, those are two things that I will tweet about.
Well, you know what? I might as well cut to the chase here. Busy week. Hats off to our Washington Huskies, which we'll get to. My 2 cents is for the Pac-12 and the long-term effect if you wanted to sneak one in to the Final Four. I can't believe I'm even saying this nationally here. I think Oregon is the better team, but we'll get to that anyway. So let's talk about the locals, the Patriots. The Titanic isn't sinking. It is sunk 1-5. The locals on 98.5 Felger and Maz, comically talking about the quarterback situation where you had a wide receiver, Malik Cunningham, as your number 2 quarterback. So if Max Crosby got a blindside blitz and took Mac out on the second play, in comes Malik Cunningham. So basically already in punt mode. 8.5-point underdogs Sunday at home to the Buffalo Bills. I didn't know if you were aware of this. I wasn't until I heard it by Teddy Bruschi, I think it was. Patriots have not been 8.5-point underdogs or more at home since 2001. So,
yeah, the Rams game when the Rams beat them during the regular season before they got them in the Super Bowl. I mean, if you want
1,000,
it,
the
if you want
best
it from me,
show
I
on
think they're
turf back then.
yeah, if you're looking at 8.5 here for the Bills, perfect teaser leg. Bring them down to 2.5. The Patriots have no shot. Not getting cute. Let's not talk about all the sharp money that hits the Patriots week after week and loses. The Bills have a pass rush. They have an offense. Like the Patriots are going to lose.
They can't score in the first quarter. They barely can score in the second quarter. I mean, and I'm not a first quarter guy, but I mean, I don't care who wins the coin toss. I mean, I assume Bills first quarter, Bills first half. Uh, give us the thought process. I mean, you're a college guy like me. I mean, obviously, if you get the number one pick, Caleb's the guy. They're talking about Drake May, probably number 2 or 3, whatever. You know, I'm a Penix Jr. guy, and there's about 6 quarterbacks coming out. At this point of the season, Julian, what do they do?
Yeah, it's a good quarterback class. I don't think they're going to wind up picking number 1. I don't think they're going to wind up with Caleb Williams. Like, sign me up for a guy like Drake May, but I'll stay consistent here. I don't want to put whoever the next guy is, assuming there's a next guy behind this offensive line with these wide receivers. More needs to be fixed before you throw whoever the guy is into the fire. So maybe it's one of those situations where Mac Jones starts another year while you have the replacement on the bench behind him, because Mac's already gotten killed out there. So you can let him keep getting killed. I don't want to invest highly in someone and bring them in and have them playing in this situation. So this could be a long-term rebuild, which you have a 72-year-old general manager and head coach. That doesn't line up time-wise. So something's going to have to change. Not to mention the general manager is doing an awful job, a fireable job so far, and the head coach isn't too far behind him. He is, on track to get fired anywhere else, any other name. So stuff's gonna have to change to head in the right direction in Foxborough.
As you talk about, 70, 71, 72 years old, brought us 2 decades, 6 Super Bowls. Mr. Kraft owes him his life, meaning, Bill, Tom, 6 championships, Patriots place, but we can see the structure, the crumblings, and Bill is a Navy guy. He it's his way or the highway. So the Titanic is sinking, and he's going down with the ship, and unfortunately, he's going to go down his way, and it's kind of sad. I mean, just if they were losing and the games were close, it's one thing where you could go to management and say, "Hey, we're this far away. Give me another year. Let's get a good draft." I mean, the Juju Smith-Schuster over Jacoby Myers, the 3 tackles and 2 punters. There is not a leg to stand on for Bill moving forward, is there?
No, they're all bad decisions. It looks like the aura of these sneaky moves and getting rid of players a year early rather than a year late, finding these hidden gems, like that's all gone. Every move, almost every move, winds up grading out to a negative move once we're able to grade it with some, on the field data, or just with our eyes watching the games on the field. Once it plays out, most of these have been losing moves. Even things like the one place where they do decide to get younger is kicker. So you trade a guy that's hitting 100% to draft a rookie with a pretty high pick that's hitting 50%. So just like a quarterback that I don't want to put behind this offensive line, why if that kid's not ready to kick, I don't understand how kicking works. I think if you can kick, you can kick. Develop him into a better kicker. If you're going to do that, then let the guy like Folk be the kicker in the meantime. Score more points. Don't leave all those points on the board. So that's just a small one, the kicking one, going through drafts, coming out with a punter and a kicker and a long snapper. Like, let's address some needs here. It's just too cute, too much. And like, if anybody else was doing this, people would be saying, what the hell is this guy doing? And because it's Bill Belichick, he gets a pass. And he deserves a pass on some things, but that pass is running out.
And you know how the Boston fan base is. They're spoiled SOBs, and they want to win, and they want to win. Now, do you know who we are? And when you put up an inferior product, they just snub their nose at it. The thought process is we got Mac at a team-friendly deal again for year 4 coming up, so it's $2.3 million, or I don't know what the bump is for year 4. Let's go in and get a guy. But as you said, let's not throw him to the wolves, but that doesn't seem to happen. I mean, I remember in a perfect scenario when Kansas City drafted Mahomes and Andy Reid ran over, handed him the clipboard and says, young man, you see that guy right there? His name is Alex Smith. He's your mentor for the year. We'll see you next year. With the Mac Jones, don't you think it's time? It's almost like Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. He needs to start over. He needs a fresh start. I think they need to air out the locker room. What's your thoughts there?
He does need a fresh start. Mac Jones might be good. We don't really know. He had a good rookie year, then had a disaster of a year with Patricia and Judge, and is now having a disaster of a year with another poor roster that's not built to protect him, not built to have guys make plays for him downfield, like Devontae Parker on Sunday. So maybe Mac Jones is a average starting quarterback, but it's probably going to have to be somewhere else rather than here where he can start over. Maybe they ruined him. Maybe he's ruined. Like, I don't know if you think Sam Darnold's good or not. Maybe he could have been good somewhere else. Maybe he got ruined. We have to now find that out with Mac Jones. Did the Patriots ruin him, or does he just need a fresh start? And somebody else will find that out, but the Patriots won't.
College football, we talked at length here. We're big backers of the Washington Huskies, the game of the day. I was not the guy saying the Oregon coach is a buffoon because he stayed consistent all day, whether it was going for it on 4th down before the end of the half, late in the game. Yeah. And the funny thing with the late in the game, Jules, is that they were stopped, but Washington scored in 2 plays, and they still had almost 2 minutes to come back and score. Kicker missed the field goal, obviously, to take it to overtime. My question to you, what'd you take out of that game? I mean, Penix looked awesome. Bo is a different Bo, obviously, from Auburn. Looks real mature. I compared it to this. It was almost like watching Tua and watching Justin Herbert, meaning Bo for Justin and then Tua for Penix Jr.
Yeah, 2 really good teams. Like you mentioned off the top, Oregon's probably a little bit better. Didn't get a couple bounces their way in that game. And Washington being at home made the difference for that. When I handicapped that game, I said, I think Washington has a few tiny edges that all add up to why I'm going to back them. And I think that kind of came to fruition. And one of those edges was being at home. So, I got a bunch of Washington plus 400, plus 430 to win the Pac-12. They're my biggest win total at over 9, which is in great shape. But the Pac-12 ticket, that's a game I'm going to be out there in Vegas for that game. I'm hoping to get Washington, but against someone that's not Oregon. Because if it's Oregon in a revenge spot in Vegas in that game, I'm going to have to reverse course and take a whole bunch of Oregon in that game. They would be favored in that game, I believe. So we'll see. The Pac-12 is going to cannibalize itself. That might cost them having a college football playoff team, which stinks because the league is so good. But Washington has some tough ones coming up. Like this could be, it could be 11-1 Oregon and 11-1 Washington in that game. 11-1 Washington and 10-2 Oregon even. USC, we'll see if they can sneak in there with this bad defense. I do like USC against Utah on Friday night at our Saturday night at home. Even going against a good defense, which Notre Dame showed the blueprint there. But all these teams have tough games down the stretch. The only one I think maybe could sneak in maybe would be Oregon State. If they, beat a Washington at home. Washington has to go to Oregon State. I'll probably be on Oregon State in that game. But they do have to end the season at Oregon on the road. So like maybe maybe Oregon State could go 10-2 with losses at Washington State and at Oregon and sneak into the game. It's a really interesting conference. I hope Washington's playing an opponent. I hope Washington plays Oregon State after losing at Oregon State in the game. Then I would like Washington more in the game. But there's a million outcomes here, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I'm excited for it. It's a lot of really good teams playing each other down the stretch to see who gets in there.
I'm glad you brought up Oregon State because they've been flying right under that radar. We talked to you, talked to Paul Stone, talked to Ron, a lot of the experts, and they're like, don't sleep on this Oregon State team. And I can see the writing now, Jules. Michael Penix Jr., starting quarterback for the Patriots, had better wide receivers at Washington, should have stayed home.
So
His
did Mac
two wide
Jones.
receivers are phenomenal. I know, That's my point. Mac had an all-pro wide receiver team, and their Penix has got two flyers on Sunday that will be playing on Sunday there. Let's bring up Caleb and USC. I thought it was a perfect get-well spot for you for Notre Dame.
Yep.
I didn't expect that, though. Notre Dame did whatever they wanted. They ran the ball. They threw the ball. Their defense suffocated Caleb. Thoughts on USC? We know they don't have a good defense. Now they got the one loss, and it wasn't even in conference. Expectations moving forward.
Yeah, I think the offense bounces back even against a really good Utah defense because they're going to be more prepared than they were last week. I think they just went up against a really good defense. Now they're going to be at home against a really good defense, and Utah got them twice last year. Utah got them at Utah by 1 and then got them in the Pac-12 championship game in Vegas. So it's a nice revenge spot for USC now bringing Utah at home. And ultimately why I like USC in this game before I go beyond this game is the turnovers by Williams, short field for Notre Dame, like those gave the game away. So limit those turnovers this time around. And then even if you don't score and you're punting and giving Utah a full field, this Utah offense is not very good. Now USC is not good on defense, but weakness on weakness, like something will give a couple of times where USC wins those battles or forces a turnover or something. So this isn't going to be a game where USC needs to score 40 like they usually do to win. USC can win this game 28-20, like a different type of score for them, where they're going against a good Utah defense, but they just need to keep Utah from scoring, which means limit those turnovers and giving them the short field like they did over and over again for Notre Dame. So at home, I think they respond well, don't turn the ball over. That's what makes the difference in that game. Long term, we'll see what Utah can do. Do they only drop one Pac-12 game and wind up 10-2, but with one Pac-12 loss and get in the game? Or do they drop a couple down the stretch and they're out? I don't know. But what I do know ultimately is they're not going to make the college football playoff. And if they're in that Pac-12 title game, I'll be against them because of the defense. I just don't think they have what it takes to win it. So if they're in the Pac-12 title game, I'll go against them. I'm not sure if we'll see him there or not. I would lean no.
I sent out our alert on Saturday, our part 2 of the alert. I was watching for a reason the first half of Alabama, Arkansas, and I had seen enough. And I went on to your sports book, DraftKings, and Alabama was plus 2,000 to win the national title. And obviously the second half they played grab ass and got a little dicey there. But I'm seeing things where the defense is molding into shape. I'm seeing slowly the quarterback getting more comfortable. Now the schedule lines up perfect for them. They were 10-point favorites this week at home versus Tennessee. They got LSU coming up in a few weeks. They end with Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and then the assumption is face off against Georgia, an undefeated Georgia who lost Brock Bowers for the season, and no one's talking about that. But we'll get to that in a second.
We'll see if it's for the season or if he's back in the SEC championship game or back in the playoff, but we'll see.
Regular season, let's say. We have said that Georgia's vulnerable, but they play towards their competition. Their one game that they got up for was Kentucky, and they destroyed them. We had the Vanderbilt team total over on Saturday, easily got there. My point is, you buying or selling on Alabama?
Buying, really. They have a path now, and it didn't look like they had it when they were coming off a loss and grinding to get out of a win against USF. Like, it was over. We had their win total up on DK Sportsbook at 8.5. That was the gift of all gifts. Alabama 8.5. They have a good chance to go 11-1. So if they might have a crack at Georgia to get into the college football playoff. Then you got 12-1 Georgia in, 12-1 Bama in, probably the winner of the Big Ten in, and one other spot for what? An undefeated ACC team, a 12-1 Pac-12 team, something. So it's a really interesting storyline.
Don't forget Texas.
Oh, sorry.
Don't forget Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah, and potentially an undefeated Oklahoma or a 12-1 Texas. There's going to be a lot of options here. It would be a nice year to have that expanded 8 or 12 field, but we're getting 4, and it's going to be a tough call. But the odds are Alabama won't be in the discussion. Even if they do run the table to get into the game, they'll be a dog to Georgia, but they're going to have a chance.
Yes, and the path. I'm glad you said it that way. As long as teams have paths, then they're worth, potentially, as we say, a little beer and pizza money. The expectations are now, again, they're home against Tennessee. They're home against LSU. Auburn, it is what it is. And then, obviously the championship game in the Domes. So are you worried with the Bauer injury, or you just fully expect them still to go undefeated until the SEC championship game?
I think they'll sneak through on the regular season. They'll be a little less dominant, I think, but I do think they'll get through. It wouldn't shock me if they lose a regular season game, but I think they'll ultimately get through. If I am getting an Alabama that needs to win as an underdog and Bowers isn't playing in the SEC championship game, I'll be pretty tempted to go Alabama there. And then we'll see where they're at in the college football playoff. But yeah, this is a team all year that, hasn't looked as, invincible as they have in the past couple of years. So, Georgia versus the field, give me the field to win it this year. I don't think Georgia's three-peating, even if Bowers does play in the playoff.
You remember your memory's sharper, the short-term memory than mine. Was it 2-3? How many years ago was it that a one-loss Bama needed to win to get in versus an undefeated Georgia team? Actually, so it must have been, 3 years ago, correct?
That was 2 years ago.
2 years
2021.
Okay. And it looks like the same scenario. As you said, there's a popsicle headache to talk about all the potentials in and out. And I always forget about Florida State. I apologize to all the FSU fans.
What about this? Florida State and UNC don't play each other. What if UNC and Florida State play undefeated in the ACC championship game and UNC wins?
Well, then
you got
again,
13-0 UNC team.
And here's the thing: you need the Texas revenge game and then Texas to win, so they both have one loss. The Pac-12 is going to beat themselves up, and I'm going to go right now to Penn State and Ohio State, because there is a potential here. Let's just play devil's advocate. Penn State loses to Ohio State this week, but they beat Michigan in a couple weeks at home, and then Michigan beats Ohio State in the last game of the year. So
Does
there's
that
three
leave Penn
teams
State
all
in?
with one loss.
So who
I
gets into
don't
the
know.
conference championship game?
I don't know.
See, I was talking about that with people the other night. I have Michigan plus 210 there. I think they're ultimately the best team, but they have to play, in my opinion, the hardest game, which is the at Penn State game. Where I would probably like Penn State plus 3. So I think my hedge, I guess, on my Michigan ticket is I'm going to be taking some Penn State in that game.
Thoughts this week on the college card? You know, the headliner, obviously, Penn State and Ohio State. There's a bunch of good games there, but what's your eyes seeing for all the watching listeners? Any Julian plays? Any Julian leans?
Yeah, my favorite play, I actually got in on the under for Ohio State and Penn State at 47.5. It's down a couple points. I'm still fine with it. I'm fine if you want to play some first half under too. These defenses are good. Penn State's really good. Ohio State's pretty good. Penn State gave up 15 to West Virginia in that week 1 game, and then no more than 13 since. Couple shutouts in there. Ohio State giving up like single digits half their games. Now, big step up in competition here, but like, let's just point to the Ohio State Notre Dame game. 17-14, dead under the whole way. If Ohio State doesn't make that drive, it ends 14-10. So I think defense is the calling card for both these teams. I think defenses are going to kind of lead this game, start off in a grind, maybe pick up a little steam, and then get a little tight again late. So this is an under for me for sure.
Any other leans in college, Jules?
Yeah, I played Wisconsin. Reminds me a lot of the Iowa spot against Purdue a couple weeks ago. Should have been massive favorites, but lost their starting quarterback, and it just too much was put on that. So Wisconsin loses Tanner Mordecai, and now they're just minus 130 money line against Illinois. They're coming off the loss to Iowa. Illinois is coming off the big upset win over Maryland. Their only other win this year is FAU for Illinois. Like, Illinois is going to turn back into who they are. Wisconsin can still play D, run the ball. I like Wisconsin there. Just too much of a discount for me to pass up on. And then I mentioned I like USC. I'll probably play some Alabama first half. Haven't gotten around to that yet. That's generally a classic right there over the years. Alabama first half in a big game at home. I'll probably look at that.
Over to the NFL. I don't see, correct me if I'm wrong, we've had three straight London games this week. I don't think we have a London game. My mouse isn't working here. I know we got some Germany games coming up. What's your eyes see in the NFL this week, Jules?
Saints for me tonight, regardless of the Trevor Lawrence status. If he plays, he's dinged up, but this is just an unheard of spot for Jacksonville. You go London, which has never been done. So longest London trip in NFL history. Come back Sunday, division game at home. Quarterback gets dinged up. You start sluggish, but you win. Short week on the road. Saints, good defense. Saints off a loss in Houston. This is just a really hard spot for Jacksonville. And the one thing that the Saints haven't been good at, moving the ball through the air, Jacksonville ranks 31st in terms of passing yards allowed. So maybe a little bit cushier of a spot for the Saints to get going in the air. So Saints at home off a loss with Jacksonville in just this really weird spot of London, Jacksonville, short week, New Orleans. Got to go Jags there. And the only other thing I've played is the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Reminds me a lot of the Bills spot for Miami. Gaining a lot of steam. Everybody loves this offense. Popular underdog, and then they go to Buffalo and they're just a little overmatched. Eagles off a bad loss to the Jets. I think they're going to be overmatched on Sunday Night Football. I like Philly at home. I played them minus 125 on the money line there.
Before we wrap this up, I'm behind TD Garden here today. We talked backstage about this. And again, I don't drink the Kool-Aid. I just try to provide as much education as possible with a little entertainment. I love the tone and the mindset of the Celtics this year. The addition of Van Gundy, they add Cassell. They're building this foundation. Missoula, second year. Tatum sounds so much more mature behind the mic. We got a week to go before opening tip-off to the NBA season already. Thoughts about the Celtics? Thoughts on what you've seen in training camp? And maybe you could throw out a potential future over-under or a prop or something for the watching listeners before we talk next week and the season begins.
Yeah. So I think this is just the product of both losing the last couple years and getting some new blood in there. Getting Porzingis and Holiday excites the locker room. It's regardless of what you think of the team, it's a talent upgrade when they're healthy. So I think that's exciting. I think they're excited to kind of get this unit going. We've seen that in the two home preseason games. They've played everyone. They've been really excited about it. And then just the experience of losing, like that builds character, that builds motivation, that builds hunger. So this team's hungry to win. Tatum, Brown, Missoula gets a learning experience under his belt. So I think they are motivated. I think they're hungry to win. I think they're focused. And, the more you lose in different ways and have that disappointment, the more ready you're going to be the next year to get your first one. So I think that's the spot they're in. 3 futures ways that I've backed the Celtics, I guess. One way on the team, I do like them in there, and this is new. I like them in their group in the in-season tournament. They're minus 125 on DK Sportsbook, which is a good price. There's 150s, 160s, 170s out there. Minus 125 on DK Sportsbook to win their group, which means have the best record out of the 4 games that they have to play against. Toronto, Brooklyn, Chicago, and Orlando is their group. I like them to come out of that group. We've never done this before, so we'll see how it ultimately looks. But I thought that was a pretty cheap price on them. And then some DK Sportsbook special markets. I bet Tatum plus 150 to be first team All-NBA. He's done it 2 years in a row. You look at the 2 forward positions, one should be Giannis and one should be Tatum. And we're getting plus money on both of them, higher plus money on Tatum. So I'm taking him. If another forward sneaks in there, again, it can only be one of Jokic or Embiid. They've been alternating year after year. And then you get the guards. The guys behind them are Kevin Durant, who is going to give some to Beal and Booker and who generally sits some games. LeBron, up there in age. Anthony Davis, very injury prone. And what does Tatum do? He prides himself on playing. He barely takes any nights off. So he's going to have the volume there. I like Tatum at plus money first team. Drew Holiday was plus 450 for first team all defense. That's a guy that pretty much alternates year after year being first or second team. And I ballpark guessed that at more of like a plus 250. So that was just a little sprinkle for me. I thought it was good value. But overall, like when you want to back this Celtics team, I'll be backing them early because you want them when they're motivated and you want them when they're healthy. And I think that's how they're going to start the season with this new core and they have their health. So they're still like minus 130 money line in New York on that opening night. I think that's too cheap for them. And then I saw we had on DraftKings, it's off the board now, but it'll come back. The opening night in Boston is Friday night, the 27th. They're laying 4.5 against the Heat. That doesn't add up. This team laid 7.5, 8.5, and 9.5 in the Eastern Conference Finals home games. Celtics got better. Porzingis, Holiday. Heat got worse. They lost their starting backcourt from that series. Vincent and Strus, gone. So now you're telling me it's 4.5 at home on a Friday night in Boston. A little bit of a revenge spot for how that last series ended. It could come back at 5 or 5.5, whatever. That number doesn't make sense. So Celtics Friday night, I'll bet them in their first 2 games. Celtics minus 4.5 against the Heat.
As always, how we wrap this show up, we have you dig into your crystal ball and your sports book here and enlighten all the listeners on what you have to offer at the DK Sportsbook.
Yep, I'm pulling up what we got this week. I know we got a 50% boost on Saints Jags tonight. So use that however you please. We got a super boost, Kamara or ETN anytime touchdown score at plus 150. Not either or. Like if either of them score, you cash that plus 150. Pretty decent value there. Like I said, the 50% boost on the game, 25% boost on any MLB game today if you want to bet some baseball. 50% boost on the Penn State Ohio State game. So there you go. We got one for that as well.
Well, the scroller's been going the whole time, Jules. Everyone watching and listening, please, please, please go follow Julian at Julian Edlow, at DK Sportsbook, at DraftKings. Go watch his podcast at Unreasonable Odds Podcast. And don't forget, Saturday and Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. East Coast time. And the name of that show, Julian, is?
The Sweat. You can find it 8 to 10 a.m. on VSiN, Samsung TV, YouTube, on Twitter, all over the place.
Go enjoy your birthday, Julian. We'll catch up with you next week.
Plenty of work to be done here. I'll enjoy tonight. Take care, Jeff.
All right, you take care. The one and only Julian Edlow from DraftKings Sportsbook. Always one of our highlights of the week to catch up with him. Talking some local sports and, of course, going through the menu there. A lot of nuggets out there between college, NFL, and some NBA Celtic futures there. Later today, 3 o'clock, I will be guest at McGinnis Picks at Wager Talk with Andrew McGinnis, our Thursday show talking NHL, college football. I'm the guest, so I get to sit back and answer the questions instead of asking the questions. And around 4:30, 5 o'clock, Riley Magnuson most likely will be flying solo in the closing bell. And, of course, our busy Friday afternoon show at 1, 3, and 5. Sean Childs with some fantasy talk. Matt Grissom and Quentin Mills with some college football talk. And our closing bell on Friday is with Mr. Ron at Ron A Sports talking college and NFL. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from our co-star, Julian Edlow from DraftKings at DK Sportsbook and at Julian Edlow. Wish everyone a great morning. We'll catch up with you later this afternoon. You all take care now.